You are paid, lady. Let's hope you're fucking paid well, bitch. Fucking liar. That was fucking straight up bullshit. Straight up fucking not true. Not all babies get RSV. Not all babies have respiratory problems.
Kids, and you need a significant amount of it to do those kind of measurements. So every piece of information I'm going to give you is going to be adult or the older adult population. And this is a really important distinction because we have to be clear that just as
kids' immune systems,
adults, their immune systems aren't necessarily interpretable in the context of what we know of adults or adults. So with that caveat, I would say we can use things like long COVID as the extreme example, where we know that 1 in 3 people who have long COVID have lasting immunity.
But it's not long COVID, it's an immune deficiency.
People who had COVID sometimes have some of these immune changes that last over a year. But I think Allison brought up a really important point. We have to be clear that just because we see a change doesn't mean we totally understand the long-term clinical significance. There are viral infections we get in everyday life. For example, there's one called CMV that most of us will have. Profoundly changes our immune system, but has very little impact on our long-term health. So although I am cautious, I think the data is unequivocal that we need to avoid COVID. Some people, there will certainly be long-term health problems. I also want to be forthright because I think it's important that we not overstate this until we have the data.
All right, Anthony, I'm going to bring you into this. If COVID infections are wearing does that mean people will be sick often? What are essentially factors and risks?
That's a strong possibility. And I'd like to bring up that very clear, as the doctor said, a lot of these studies were in adults, so we can't unfortunately directly extrapolate to children. But there are lasting changes to the immune system. For example, in mild infection, the adults with mild infection at 7 months out, they still have a very low level of plasmacytoid dendritic cells. And these dendritic cells are really important for viruses and releasing what's called interferon alpha. Interferon alpha is a cytokine that actually, in early stages of infection, even before infection, can reduce severity of RSV or even prevent infection. So there are strong changes to the immune system that could result in easier infection occurring.
Do we have any data, and I can stick with you, Anthony, in terms of the various variants, how they have an impact on our immune system? Do we know the difference between Delta versus Omicron?
Unfortunately, we had to acquire this data in animals. So, again, about the extrapolation, but it looked like Delta was really the worst in terms of pathogenicity. So Delta really harmed the thymuses of the mice, and that's an immune organ that helps develop T cells. And it was really just caused a ton of inflammation. With Omicron, it had less of those Delta-like features and harm to the thymus. But with time, Omicron has re-evolved to go back to those changes that were in Delta. So it looks like Delta, so far was really the worst one, but Omicron is returning to a Delta-like phenotype, and that means just the way it is.
Right, Donna, I did want to bring you back in. You did talk about long COVID a little bit. Is immune suppression post-COVID different from having long COVID?
Yes, long COVID is a constellation. Many different things can happen. So some people who have long COVID have very clear autoimmunity. So in the context of that infection, their immune system got the wrong message and started to attack their own body. Some people don't have as much evidence of that autoimmunity, but they seem to have damage to some of their organs, at least some of which is probably mediated. So it's a real big constellation. And
It's just gonna get fucking murdered, dude.
Variation in what this does. And it depends on how severely sick you are, probably sex plays a role,
Yeah.
your age, what variant you got, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we can use long COVID as the extreme of the both
It's very vague.
effects. And for many of the older adults in our study, we don't see the very extreme impacts, we see something sort of in the middle. So what's going to be important for us to tease out is how does this impact the rest of their aging trajectory? What other diseases they get? What other infections they get?
All right, so we're seeing unprecedented capacity crisis in pediatric hospitals and emergency departments. A debate is unfolding across this province. Some experts explain the surge in viral infections as a result of immune suppression post-COVID. Others say immunity debt is to blame. Allison, I'm hoping you can help clear this up a little bit and help explain a little here. Has the idea of immunity debt been misunderstood, and can you help explain what that actually means?
Well, I'm not actually sure what it means when people talk about immunity debt. You know, it's not a term I would use. Really,
Yeah, because you're fucking stupid. Go take a fucking lap around the block, you fatty.
Is the fact that we didn't expose
Fuck, I'm gonna listen to this fat fucking discourse.
So
always very healthy.
Usually in temperate climates in Canada, in the winter season, you get RSV. It starts in October, it goes up to a peak in November, it's stable over the winter, starts to come down in March and go back.
RSV is actually supposed to only be in children.
But we've had 2 years with no RSV activity. So there's no question that we now have a cohort of susceptible children who, of ages that pre-pandemic would not be susceptible. It's
That's not
been pretty quiet in ICU, pediatric ICUs, with the exception of COVID activity for the last 2 years. And that
so the lockdown, locking us down was probably the worst fucking thing they could have done.
Canada,
and now continuing to vaccinate people is going to make people more sick.
In any of our ICUs, but particularly in our pediatric ICUs. So
that's what happened to me. Multiple times a year, I would be on antibiotics, prednisone, steroids for your fucking lungs. Gave me a fucking serotonin fucking deficiency. So, as an adult, I became very tired. And not just tired, everything hurt to my bones. I could feel it in my fucking bones that my body would ache. And I would sleep for 20 hours.
In the end, all children are going to get exposed to RSV. The fact that we didn't expose them to RSV during the pandemic is a little bit
just
the problem is not so much that they're getting RSV, although I will say there's a whole bunch of new RSV vaccines that are going to be on the market for kids in about 2 years, and when we get those vaccines, we won't have this illness, and it will be awesome. Okay, but we're not quite there. So in the meantime, we can't prevent kids from getting RSV, and our problem is not so much that these kids are getting RSV, it's that these kids are getting RSV all at the same time. Which is incredibly difficult for their management in our pediatric ICUs.
Colin, I'm going to bring you in here. Is there any validity, and I'm going to, for the sake of this conversation, call it maybe immunity gap theory, opposed to the immunity debt, but is there any validity to this and to what Allison is saying?
Well, I agree with Allison, and I've learned when I disagree with her, I'm usually wrong. But I'll defer on it a little bit because I think both are going on. There's no question that there's this double cohort effect. That's true. But we did have a spike in RSV in this spring, and we have very low levels now. So it seems to me that if there's not much RSV yet, all this exposure, all this double exposure has yet to happen. And I still don't think it quite explains the number of kids who are seriously ill. This is a testable hypothesis. If it is a double cohort effect, this is going to fade sooner rather than later. If it's immune harm, I think it's going to get worse, and we'll see kids with multiple viral infections, fungal infections too. So I think in the coming months we'll get a better picture, and I'd love to be wrong.
All right, Dawn, I'll get your take as well.
I think this really highlights a problem with us getting data in a real-time manner in Canada. The perfect way to answer this question is if we had databases where we had records of which kids had COVID and which didn't, and we would expect that the severity would be increased in RSV if COVID was the cause, and we would expect no relationship if COVID was not the cause. But we've got two problems. One, we don't have really good databases where we can get these kind of data in real time, and two, we stopped testing. So actually know
Oh
which
my
kids
god.
had COVID or not. And
You stopped testing for COVID?
I think both things are probably.
Because like I went to the hospital, they didn't test me.
And we are maybe seeing some effects of
The whole time I was in the hospital, they did not give me a COVID test.
but I don't know where the balance is. It could be more of one and it could be more of the other. And I really want to make a plea for
I went back the next day and they still didn't give me a COVID test.
so we
Like,
can answer these questions in real time. So it really does affect your strategy.
And I am hoping.
On these issues, ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the other really difficult things to interpret is that both COVID and RSV are diseases that are substantially determined by social determinants of health. So that our kids who live in poverty, whose parents are racialized, whose parents are new immigrants, have higher risk of both of them. So there's a really important, the inequity that occurs in our society is an important driver of severe
you're a
RSV.
fucking monster. You are fucking spawn of Satan,
Talking
lady.
about having health systems, but it's also about trying to tease out that compounding makes it really difficult to know for sure.
You're
All right,
fucked
Anthony, I want
up.
to get your take in
Oh
there.
my god.
Is
I
it
cannot believe you
possible
just said
that both ideas could be
immigrants.
true, or
Immigrant
are we
children. That's what people are gonna take from that. I guarantee you right now.
It's definitely true that mitigations from COVID, like social distancing,
Thank
mask
you,
wearing,
sir.
reduce the prevalence of RSV. That's,
Thank you for
obvious.
correcting this woman.
The question is, could there be an additional effect of immune harm, from COVID? And the evidence is there. Unfortunately, it's not well studied in children, but we see that there are long-lasting, up to 7 months, deficits in dendritic cells, and these cells are they're very much responsible for helping with viral infections, especially in the upper airway. It's well characterized for RSV. Actually, they found that infants and children with severe RSV were more likely to have relatively lower interferon alpha levels. It was a marker for potential harm.
All right, I want to pull up a tweet by Dr. Mustafa Hirji, the acting medical officer of health for Niagara Region, in reference to COVID-induced immune dysregulation having an impact across province. He writes, "I'd like to see evidence linked to the actual situation at hand. Until then, it is just a hypothesis, but the currently favored hypothesis, so-called immunity debt, lacks both historical and situational evidence and is inconsistent with surveillance data." Doesn't seem like he's any different from what we're saying here, but Allison, what's your response?
So I do think that I'm not sure that
Why do we keep talking this way?
about surveillance data. There's a couple of issues with surveillance data. First of all, our surveillance data is 2 weeks out of date rules, right? It just takes that much time to collect it and post it and get it forward. And if you look at RSV activity now, RSV activity is well above seasonal norms, okay? So it's not true that we're seeing this excess of hospitalization in the absence of RSV. The second problem really common, I promise you, I'll set you there. The second problem is that it's really hard to interpret levels of different viruses at the moment. So pre-COVID, we don't test everybody who gets sick. We don't actually know what the rates are. We test kids differentially.
And how would you know they were sick?
It's all done by physicians for who knows what reason. Okay, it's not like we track it. But the advantage is that it's stable over time. So you can look at influenza activity and you can say, okay, 5% of tests, that's the threshold for the season. Now we know we're into the season. And even if I don't really know why people are getting tested or who's getting tested or what's going on,
Okay,
because
I'm done.
it's stable over time, it's okay.
I'm done. Nope. Thank you. I'll try you guys again. And we are jamming.
Second hour of the Elias Macko Show. Thanks for listening on this Friday morning. Hope you've been having a good week. We finally made it to the end of the week here on this December 2nd. And it's December 2nd. I just got hit with my hydro bill for the last couple of months. And, I was kind of excited because I was like, oh, you know what? I remember how it was just so warm over the last couple of months. November was especially the beginning of November was so warm, and October was so warm. I bet you my bill's going to be significantly lower than 1 year ago. Get my bill. It was lower by $1. It was literally $178 last year, and it's $176 and change this year. Now, I know they raised the rates just slightly, so I guess I did use less electricity, but I was sort of hoping for a much lower electricity bill, but it was pretty much bang on with last year, despite any savings. They say the average temperature over the last couple of months, the last bill, it was 8 degrees compared to last. And I saved $1.50. I don't know if that also happened to you. Let me know on the text line at 514-800. Okay, everybody, let's talk about policing. Let's talk about some of the things we're seeing in various cities. Now, one thing I want to make very clear, I do not like to transpose U.S. problems on Canada. Different countries, different ways of doing everything, right? And we may want to knock our healthcare system. We may want to knock our education system in this province. But you know what? We have significant differences that I think lead to different outcomes. But we have seen in various U.S. cities, in some respects, crime just getting out of hand. I mean, how many of you have seen those stories out of California? Cities like Oakland, cities like San Francisco, where residents have kind of sort of given up on crime. Have you seen those stories of people in San Francisco that have now basically they don't lock their cars, they roll down their windows, they put a sign up on their car saying there's nothing in my car, right? Please don't break a window, everything is unlocked. There's nothing in here, please. And they're begging. They're basically begging criminals not to break their windows, not to cause damage to their car. Go in, do what you want, but please don't break anything. My windows have been broken into 3 times in the last year. Please, pretty please. And in places like that, and I have to point this out, a lot of these places in California, Los Angeles, Oakland, San Francisco,
they tried to fix my truck actually.
That come top of mind.
They got my Kia.
I know you can mention some other cities as well. I know New York City and their new mayor, Eric Adams, is also very tough on crime. He's a former cop, by the way. I've been trying to look at new approaches here for a problem that may not be solvable short term, right? You're going to need to look at very long-term solutions on crime. But what's interesting here is that you do have cities in California that are known to be progressive and liberal, and when it comes to policing, they've been remarkably lax, right? When it comes to, okay, who should we prosecute? What crimes should we focus on, right? They've taken a more lax approach, trying to, go after the root problems, the core problems that cause crime. But of course, that's not helping out the residents of these cities. And this is why this story that I'm about to tell you, to me, is a real head scratcher. So the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, right? Basically city council in San Francisco, they just passed a vote last night, in fact. And the vote was about police using equipment that has lethal force, right? And this is a very interesting thing, right? When I talk about equipment that has lethal force, I'm not talking about a police officer using a gun, right? That's equipment, right? A gun, equipment that has the potential to kill someone that the police are trying to intervene with. What I'm talking about here is equipment that there is no police officer attached to that equipment. I'm talking about robots, in fact. And last night in San Francisco, a vote that said that the police force in San Francisco can now use robots for deadly force. And it was a very heated debate, but the policy now would allow police officers to use ground-based robots to kill when, quote, risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers is imminent, and officers cannot subdue the threat using alternate force options or de-escalation tactics. And I find that, this story to me is so interesting because you have you have a city that's been very quote unquote lax on crime, but now they've gone ahead and approved, something that I think, is out of science fiction here. I mean, when you think about it, like the science fiction movies of the future about, basically police robots that can use deadly force on people. So the policy was proposed in September, okay? And of course, when it was proposed, people freaked out. How can you approve robots, basically, to use deadly force on citizens? But the story here actually goes well beyond just last September. In fact, some police forces in the U.S. have already done this without even debating it, without even thinking about it, really, sort of as a last-minute decision made that caused a lot of debate and a lot of consternation amongst activists, police, people who are against police brutality, especially. Now, this 6 years ago in Dallas, there was a situation where a sniper was in a standoff with police officers in that city, in Dallas. There was an hours-long standoff. And what did police decide to do in that situation? I mean, people were absolutely astounded at the time at the decision that the police officers in Dallas made, which is they armed a robot with C4 explosives.
The fuck?
And they used it to kill the suspect in this hours-long standoff. There was no debate there. There was no debate on policy or we should be using robots. If police forces should be using robots with deadly force. But the police force in Dallas at that time just made a decision saying, yeah, we'll do it. Experts at the time were stunned. It sparked a debate here. And now we see for the first time a city just given okay after a very heated debate here, a city given okay to allow robots that will have deadly force. There's going to be a second vote on this in San Francisco to reaffirm the decision. But in a city like San Francisco, which is facing increasing amounts of crime, this is something that a lot of people are saying, what is really behind this decision? And a lot of people are making links between police forces and the companies that create these kinds of weapons / technologies like robots that can shoot a weapon. And as you know, in the U.S., this is a politicized thing, right? This is it has become very political. The connections that go between budgets of police forces and the companies that sell those products, right? And the creeping influence of those companies to enact policy. A lot of people are saying here that some of those companies may have been a key part in convincing, in this case, the city of San Francisco, to move ahead with technologies like drones and land-based robots that can exert deadly force on citizens. When we return on the Elias Macko Show, we're going to switch gears. I'm going to tell you a story about the ridiculous steps that people are taking to get their Canadian visas. This is really incredible here. Some of the lengths. It's quite outrageous. So stay tuned for that. Let's do some traffic.
Impressions of the country post-pandemic?
Well, it's open again, so that's nice. I like coming here. I'm very gratified that I've been received positively. I had a huge crowd in Brisbane, 10,000 people. There was a bigger show coming up in Sydney. I think there's 13,000 there. So those are the biggest audiences that have attended my shows, single shows. And so that's very interesting to see. Nothing really on the protest front. I saw a bit of buzz online before I came here that there were people on the more radical left side that were going to show me just exactly how unwelcome I was here. But so far, unsurprisingly, they haven't managed to organize themselves. So the last time I was here too, it's a very impressive country. And today I'm here in Canberra speaking with parliamentarians, and that was quite surprising to me that I was invited and that there were a large number of people in attendance. That's a surprising and I would say at least somewhat courageous act. I wouldn't It's not clear that all of them have in Canada, for example.
And do you find conservative politicians, including ours, crying out for some direction in how to communicate the message and how to stop apologising and actually?
You know, conservatives are pretty good at implementing. It's their strength, even on the temperamental side. But on the vision front, they're not that good. And that's partly what even makes them conservative, because if you're a conservative, you don't need a vision in some sense, because what you tend to do is walk the tried and true path. And in some sense, that's a replacement for a vision, or it's a traditional vision. And the disadvantage you have, I would say, on that front is that when people push you in relationship to your traditional vision, you may not be able to articulate it well.
That matters, but
So
talking about
someone might object to someone who's conservative. It's like, well, defend marriage. It's like, well, people think, well, I thought we already agreed on it. How to defend that? It's an institution that's been around for all intents and purposes forever. It's part of the general consensus of value. Even to articulate it to that degree is rare. And so conservatives are often taken aback, especially when those questions are also accompanied by a moral accusation. Like, well, you know, it's nothing but a patriarchal institution. And it's also easy to make conservatives feel guilty because they're conscientious. And so if you tell a conservative, you're not doing your duty, they think, what? I'm trying to do my duty.
But is that a losing strategy? Is that why the leftist march through the institutions has been so successful? Because conservatives haven't had that boldness and belief in their value system?
Well, I think it's also because the challenge is actually quite realistically corrosive. So we could start with the observation that all human social institutions, whether they're micro, marriage, say, or macro, political or economic, are corrupted by the
things joy by giving something you know.
Drives the assault against an institution forward on the basis of the claim that it's nothing but power. It's difficult to differentiate that because you're guilt from as a conservative, you think, yeah, these institutions are corrupted by power to some degree. Well, then that's the rub. It's like, well, yeah, to some degree. To say that our institutions are corrupted by the temptation to power is a very different claim than that those institutions are founded on nothing but the will to power. That's the fundamental what you say, leftist claim. And that's not an easy claim to defend against. Because I might say, like I could confront you with this, I could say, well, what's the opposite of the will to power? And you think, I don't know. That's a problem. And it is a problem. It's a very difficult technical problem. I think, by the way, just for the sake of continuing the argument, that it's the spirit of voluntary play. It's the antithesis of the spirit of power. And I think that functional human relationships that are self-sustaining and productive and generous, specifically, are when they're optimized based on the spirit of play. And that's the opposite of the spirit of tyranny as well. But that took me like 30 years to even figure out how to articulate that. And so if you're pushed back into a corner with your rather inarticulate but deeply embodied conservative beliefs, it's not evident at all that you have either the ability or the temperament to transform that traditional belief into a compelling, forward-looking vision. So it's very hard on conservatives, and I have been struck by the degree to which the vision on the centrist front is neither compelling nor coherent.
Yeah.
It's not, especially in the face of this tremendously pointed accusatory assault. It's all about power. And the only reason you don't see that is because of your privilege. You have privilege, you're in a good position, you don't have privilege. Well, what do you mean privilege? It's earn it. What can you do with privilege? Is there such a thing as earning it?
Yeah.
These are all questions that have been thrown up by people who are subsidized to do nothing but cause trouble as a consequence of their envy.
How does that contrast with, say, a
Oh,
system that's centered on political correctness? Because that's quite easy to
articulate and understand those sort of belief systems.
Well, it's also an effective call to a very base motivation. So if you put forward the proposition that it's all about power, then and that those who have more power have it because they have essentially stolen it, well then all sorts of things are now open up for you. Well, anyone who has more than you of anything is a thief. That's quite the proposition. Very convenient for you. You're justified in stealing it back. In fact, you might be morally obligated to do so. You have a convenient place to put the problem of evil. It's certainly not within you. It allows you to act on your envy. And boy, you want to be careful of adopting a belief system that allows you to act on your envy, because envy is a very, very, very corrosive motivational force.
Yeah.
If no one can have anything more than anyone else, no one can have anything else. Everything is never going to be absolutely distributed.
And yet, so much of what we see now is trying to manufacture equity. It's not about equality, it's about having equitable outcomes. And that seems to be something that's illogical, but yet it's an ideal that's held up.
It's attractive too in some sense, right? Because if you're, it's attractive in an instinctive way in some sense. If you're walking down the street and you see someone who's homeless, it's going to produce a stirring of conscience, right? At least you feel, well, that's unfortunate. You might think there, but for the grace of God, you're going to think,
no,
wouldn't it be better if
there's a
society was
problem.
constituted so that such things did not occur? You might think that person has been victimized and oppressed, and it certainly might be the case in the case. And so that sets you.
No, and then you keep walking.
Conundrum.
That's the problem.
If you
and you put it on God.
An easy explanation for that.
You go, oh, God help them. You would pray for them. Like, that's the problem. There you go.
It's easy to make that viewpoint attractive. It takes education to make that viewpoint not attractive. So, I mean, I think that almost all societies that have become successful have done so by educating themselves in some real sense out of an instinctive false compassion and envy. And because those are there at hand, they always have to be, what would you say? They always have to be pushed back against. They always have to be differentiated. So what's the difference between all? Well, someone might not come up with that idea on their own, but once it's presented to them, especially to a young person, especially given that the system is not fair in the ultimate sense, it presents a very difficult conundrum. Especially also because some people do have more than others because they're psychopathic and manipulative and not say fair. So.
No, I hear this. No, because you put it all on God. That's your fucking problem.
Oh, maybe. Not served by a visa, an application done at the border, because it will be scrutinized by an officer with you in front of this officer asking questions and poking you on various issues. So it's a risky operation. In some cases, it goes well. If it's properly prepared, no problem. But if it's not properly prepared, it can be a very risky operation. On top of that, you're coming into Canada after crossing the border to the U.S. You're denied entry to the U.S. That's part of the process because you're making an application upon entry into Canada. Now, when you're entering Canada, you're subject to a controlled by the border officers who can not only control the documentation, but can also control your phone. They have a right to request that you open your phone.
What?
That they can search your phone, they can search your computer, they can request far more information than if you were doing this on paper or you would have done it online with the office in Alberta. So that's why a bit of caution is needed here. But yes, it's a process that has been used, is being used more and more. We recognize it is.
In some cases, it serves very good purposes, but in other, we have surprises, and people do have surprises, and we end up in federal court challenging these decisions.
Well, Duke, I certainly get your points here about why there should be some caution here. Let me just point out some numbers here. Here's some numbers I have in front of me. Last year, 7,000 people got their visa using that flagpole tactic. This year, the numbers jumped to over 30,000. So despite the caution, despite all the perils you mentioned, if they the access that they have and the risks you're taking, clearly people are so desperate that they're going to that link. And we're with Hugues Langlais, an immigration lawyer, talking about this here. Is this basically more an indication of desperation from people more than anything else?
Yes, it is. The issue is the following. People believe that if you do not have a paper that is valid, then they would not be entitled to whatever privilege that comes along with that. Whereas if they understand the basic principle of the law here is that whenever you submit your application prior to the expiry date of the paper you now have, you are in a maintained status. You can continue doing whatever you were doing before the submission of the application. So if you had a work permit that was expiring, let's say December 3rd, and you're submitting it on December 2nd, you have maintained your status and you are allowed to continue to work without interruption until the decision is rendered. There's absolutely no obligation to go to the border to do such things. But people believe that they don't have the paper, then they don't have status. If they don't have status, then they would not be entitled to whatever privilege. But it is something that is done over and over. I mean, there's over 200,000 visa applications done that way by way of an application online. So 30,000 out of the 200,000 something, it's a small percentage.
Dude, while I still have you here, there are delays everywhere, it seems, when it comes to the Canadian government here. What is the most, maybe aside from work visas and things like that, what's the most concerning thing for you as an immigration lawyer that you're seeing when it comes to deficiencies from the federal government?
I'd say the most important deficiency I can see and I can witness on a regular basis is the implementation of computerized systems that are not functioning very well. There are bugs all over their system, and there's no one you can really talk to. There's no human behind the screen. It's almost impossible unless you're willing to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in some cases to be able to talk to someone. There's absolutely a lack of service. And when I say that in terms of lack of service, for me, a public servant is there to serve the public. We need to have an access to speak to someone. There's absolutely no one we can speak to in order to solve technical glitches in their system, and we see that on a day-to-day basis. Just to give you an example, I've been waiting for the past 5 days to be able to present an employment offer on the employer's portal of the Immigration Canada, and we are absolutely unable to submit such an offer of employment to validate a work permit application. 5 days. Impossible to talk to anyone. We have to try and try and try. It has become a nightmare. It
sounds like a mess. It sounds like a complete mess.
It's a total mess.
Listen, thanks for your time. Thanks for helping us highlight this issue, because it's another example of just Canadian bureaucracy failing when we need it most. And I want to thank you for coming on this morning.
Okay, no problem. Later.
That's Hugues Langlais, immigration lawyer, on the various links Canadians or people are going to get their visas here in this country. When we return on the Elias Macko Show, it's in transit for Friday. We're going to take a look at winter tires. Some of you don't have them on yet, and yep, it's illegal right now. You got to have your winter tires on. We'll take a look at that and more next.
This newscast brought to you by Supermarché Acavans, 2 locations, Saint-Jacques near Cavendish and Pierrefonds Boulevard. AcavanFood.com.
There's no snow on the ground.
Good morning, just past 10:30. I'm Tom Whalen for Trudy Mason with a CTV News update. Here's what's making news right now. The jobs numbers for November were released this morning. Nationally, the unemployment rate fell by 0.1% to 5.1%, while here in Quebec, the rate fell to a record low 3.8% last month. Laval police released the results of a cannabis raid they carried out earlier in the week. More than $8 million worth of plants, resin, and production equipment was seized, and 3 arrests were made. Also in Laval, Mayor Stéphane Boyer is preparing to present his budget for 2023. In a press release this morning, the city says that expenditures will amount to more than $1 billion, but the tax rate will go up by 2.9%. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Catherine Wood.
In Laval, on the westbound 440 at Woodville de la Frontière, we're dealing with a right lane accident involving a semi. You're slow now from before Papineau over to that point. After that, though, things look good, and elsewhere in Laval, things are quiet. Westbound down the Net, your busiest now, Laurentian Auderet to the Carey Circle. Eastbound 40 is doing okay. Northbound to Carey, lots of volume from at least Cote St. Luc Road up to the top. 20 is looking good east and westbound. Outbound La Fontaine Tunnel holding you back now from about Beaubien. Looking for great gift ideas at Farmer Free. You'll find gifts for them and get points for you. Shop in store or at farmerfree.ca/holiday. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Next report 10:45.
Dormez-vous Weather Center forecast a mix of sun and cloud today with a high of +3, clouding over this evening, then periods of rain beginning after midnight as the temperature remains steady near +2. Tomorrow, rainy, windy, and a high of 8. Periods of snow on Sunday, the high -2. Right now, we have a mix of sun and cloud, and it's +1 in downtown Montreal. Your next CTV News update at 11 o'clock.
Getting you the facts, asking the tough questions. The Elias Macco Show.
Do you have your winter tires on?
Nope.
Are you still waiting for an appointment? Are you freaking out here at this point because you want to change your tires, but you just can't get the appointment you need? 514-790-0800. Do you have your winter tires on yet as we do our Gripes and Kudos segment for this Friday? Give me a call with what you've seen, what you've gone through to get those winter tires on this year with the December 1st deadline just passing now. You're now beyond that deadline. You could get a ticket. Let me know what you've seen. We'll also take your gripes, your transit-related gripes and kudos on any other subject coming up next.
The 2022 FIFA World Cup is here, and TSN 690 is your home for all the action. Don't miss Canada's first World Cup matches in 36 years, plus games every day, live on the air, online, and on the iHeartRadio app. TSN 690's coverage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup is brought to you by Amir. Fresh food, full of flavor. RestoAmir.com. The 2022 FIFA World Cup lives on Montreal's home for sports. TSN 690.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, it was great.
Good. Yummy. Thank you. Bye.
Your car is a place where you can truly be yourself.
Wow. That meal was terrible.
It deserves to be well protected. Get up to 15% off when you insure 2 or more vehicles with Desjardins Insurance. Compare. Save. Certain conditions apply.
In life, there are those who do and those who do more. Just like F-150. Doing more is part of our DNA. YF Series has been Canada's best-selling line of trucks for 56 years. We don't raise the bar. We are the bar. And right now is a great time to get into a new 2022 F-150. Your Quebec Ford stores have them available now, but they won't last. Come see us to take advantage of great offers on select models. Get your 2022 F-150 today. Visit your nearby Ford store or Ford.ca for details.
Pick up the tree, decorate the tree, make a gift list, invite the in-laws, drop off the canned goods, find that fruitcake recipe for the office party, plan the dinner for Christmas Eve, decorate the house, hang the stockings, wrap the present, ask Lucas to clean up his room, do the groceries, bake cookies. Right,
Go get vaccinated. The holidays are fast approaching. Get vaccinated against COVID-19 now, so you'll be protected in time. A message from the Gouvernement du Québec.
All right, Canada, this is it. Our moment is here. From every culture and every background, we unite to celebrate the FIFA World Cup. And nothing brings everyone together like Frito-Lay. So add some flavor to every moment, every move, every shot, foul, fake-out, and free kick. It's all better with a bag of Cheetos, Doritos, or Lay's. Get ready for the games with Frito-Lay, the official Canadian snack of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Frito-Lay, made for the moment.
Now that you're all grown up, we at Corvée can tell you the truth about Christmas. There's no such thing as Santa Claus. Not being able to squeeze a beautiful...
Wanna hear my fucking tire story? Well, this car did not come with winter tires. I have the tires for my old car. One of them my Trailblazer, which I fell asleep while driving because I've been homeless for the past 2 years. I've been living on my car for the past 2 years. There's video evidence to prove this, by the way. So I've been living on my car for the past 2 years, and one night I remember getting in the car. Like, I remember I went to sleep in the car, I remember getting out of the car, I remember having a conversation with someone, I don't remember getting back in the car. And apparently I fucking tried to drive home. And it was just because I was so tired, and then I just drove off the road and barrel rolled, and it was apparently a miracle that I'm alive. In that time, I got my Malibu impounded, and the scrapyard for my truck charged me $150 for the towing, but took my truck. So I got nothing for the scrap. And then my Malibu, the impound, was $600. And the car wasn't even worth that much. So I surrendered it. And I told them that I'll have $600. And so I surrendered it for the scrap. And the remainder was $300. And I said, I don't have $300. Listen, I live in the car. Like, and the car broke down. That's why I was in the truck. And I was just like so exhausted, mentally exhausted. I ended up totaling the truck and surrendering my car to impound. And then the guy gave me a break. It ended up being, I think I was like, I have $150 on me. I could give you $150 and I surrender you my car. But like aside from that, like I don't know what to tell you. And he gave me a break, even though the guy was actually nice. He also unlocked my car, which apparently he's not obligated. Like he doesn't actually have to go unlock my car for me, but I don't like my keys were on my dashboard. They even so conclusion is I have to buy a new car. I do not have tires for this car. My 2 cars were fixed, and I'm still paying for it. And the reason I had the Malibu and I wasn't driving the truck in the first place was because I brought it to a garage I probably paid $500, even though it was on the list. They said, well, something was brake fluid. So I couldn't drive it. And it was parked in a parking lot. It wouldn't turn on. So then one morning, I got fed up. Went over there in the car, spent 5 hours. Tore that fucking dashboard right apart. I tore the whole fucking dashboard out, pulled out the radio, fucking went in the back seat, started fucking ripping shit out. Fucking had OnStar. And the guy said, oh, OnStar never actually worked. I don't think it was a fucking OnStar. It's whatever. Yeah, I ripped out the OnStar from the back seat. And whoop, it's a big truck. Any extra consumption of battery, it was gonna kill the battery, or at least it would be too much juice for it to be power on the engine. Like, it's fucking simple mechanics, very simple mechanics. Why? Like, I thought I would fucking want a Tesla, but guess what? I don't want my car to turn off unless I physically turn it off myself. Why would you want that? I don't want someone else to fucking be in control of when I do or do not drive my car. I drive my car whenever the fuck I want, since I live in it. And I go wherever I want, because I'm a free human being. And that's why during curfew, I did the first 2 weeks, I did 14 days. And that's how long it was supposed to be. And then it turned into 2 months, and then it turned into 5 months. So yeah, you'd be sure as shit. After 14 days, I worked every goddamn day of curfew. I'd go out and chalk, and I'd be in the middle of the street, and I'd be chalking every fucking night for curfew. The cops would roll by. But it was only once. Because they were kind of still there for a while. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to fucking finish up and hurry up. Because it used to be that I would do it at night and people didn't know who was doing it in my neighborhood. Except Joanna. And it was just really awesome that someone in my neighborhood, my new neighborhood, because the neighborhood I picked, there was a neighbor that would get so fucking mad at me talking. And they don't write profanities, they don't write political stuff. They take pretty pictures. Silly pictures. Some of them do huge, really pretty, awesome, actually, fucking pieces of art and shit. She fucking washed one of my best friends off their house. She would take up multiple parking spots in the street, and she had a double car parking lot, and they would have it fucking plowed by like a company, whatever, and she'd be up at fucking 7:30 in the morning, like shoveling her fucking the sidewalk. And picking up the snow in my driveway, like it's in the bush, like what's out of my face, like she's got a handicap parking in front of her house, like, and yes, her parents live there, like, and they are old, and I see her father on the cane, but she's also got a small business with like 5 company fucking cars that she fucking parks. She doesn't fucking park any of them in her driveway. Fucking driveway is always empty. No, I'm not fucking parking 2 streets fucking away. So I live on the fucking 3rd floor. Just bring my name. Supposed to paint it. I painted a month before I fucking blue. How the fuck was I supposed to know the girl underneath me got a fucking Ukrainian girlfriend? Told me to fucking walk quieter in my apartment and don't walk around my apartment at night. So it bugs your girlfriend. Fuck you. Dumb fucking twat bag fucking cunt whore. Fuck you. Lived in me for fucking 4 years. Like 5 fucking years, something like that. Fucking living underneath me. I'm like, fucking why now? Like, why is my fucking being awake at night now a problem? I have a new girlfriend, she's Ukraine, and fucking, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit where your fucking girlfriend's from. I don't give a shit about your girlfriend problems. Like, fucking, it's your fucking problem. I trained my significant other to fucking get used to fucking noise. Like, and guess what? He did. Guess what? There's a world. Get fucking used to it. Otherwise, go live in fucking Norland. Fucking overprivileged fucking cunts, man. Other fucking people in the world. Fucking get used to it. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. Where there isn't people. If you don't like hearing people. If you don't care about hearing people. Like, if you don't want to be a fucking little brat bitch about it, like, you can afford to go live somewhere where fucking you get solitude and fucking peace and quiet, go do that. No fucking pieces of shit to fucking everybody else. So now I'm fucking, this lady doesn't even understand what she's fucking done. Thousands of dollars of parking tickets. How the fuck are your roads so fucking disgusting anyway that you guys need to fucking clean your roads twice a week? Like, fucking shit. Like, and the hours were ridiculous. Like, I'd be fucking running out the door and like fucking 2 cars that I have to fucking move in, and it's like going around like different blocks multiple times, like trying to find fucking stuff. It's fucking Verdun, nothing Catherine. Like, fuck.
Are you talking about coming August 13th? Special guest, My Finger Death Auction, Ice Nine Hill. Tickets on sale now at eventco.ca. Twice the Rock, nothing plays twice. Metallica in the round.
Oh, again?
Presented by Blackened American Whiskey and Liquid Death Mountain Water. Murder your thirst.
Guess what? You're taking me out to dinner.
I am. Okay.
Oh my god. That was really funny. My dog